Hello, everybody. This is John Gibb back at you with another episode of Fight Insight. Um, Honestly, I'm just kind of winging this one. I really haven't studied anything for this fight. I am just going to kind of throw it out there. I'm not going to take it too seriously. It's my first episode back. So I'm just going to do a real quick, easy one. Sorry I haven't seen you guys for a long time. Obviously, Corona happened. There's been no events. I've got my Corona cut going on. Please do forgive me. But let's just get right into it. So we got Justin Gaethje versus Tony Ferguson. And I know that everybody, including myself, was super excited for Tony versus Khabib, to find out who was the real king of lightweight. Spoiler, I'm going for Tony in that fight. I think Tony is the king of lightweight. That being said, I think Justin Gaethje is a monster. I think Justin Gaethje is the nightmare of the division. When some people say that Justin is the most likely person to beat Khabib, he's the most likely person to beat Tony, and you hear that from a lot of other fighters, I can see where they're coming from on that one. But we're not getting the Khabib-Tony fight, but I will say that Justin Gaethje versus Tony Ferguson is got to be the most promised action fight I've ever heard of. I mean, those two guys might be the most exciting fighters I've ever seen. If you go back and you watch their fights, I mean, barn burners. I couldn't say enough good things about it. So let's get into my breakdown of that fight. Granted, I didn't really prepare for this, so forgive me, but I do know these guys. I've watched all their fights. We'll start with striking. Who do I think is a better striker? I think they're different strikers. Justin, if you watch his first 3 fights in the UFC, you know that he'd throw hard hands, but he was in love with the low kick. He'd always come forward, pressure fighter, throw hard hands, low kick, low kick. I've never seen somebody span a low kick as much as Justin Gaethje. If you listen to other fighters talk about Justin Gaethje's low kick, it may not have been like the most explosive low kick on the planet, but they all said that low kick would dig into your leg in a way that they've never felt before. That it was one of the hardest low kicks out there. And if you watch his fights before he came into the UFC, he's got like 4 finishes by low kick. One of the best low kickers in the game. And he's super busy with it. He will throw it a lot. Well, at least for his first 3 fights in the UFC and his fights before the UFC. Justin likes to get hit. He openly says it. He likes to get hit, and he loves exchanges. He exchanges a lot. He gets into a lot of punching engagements, just a lot of striking engagements. He's not shy about it at all. Obviously, always coming forward. What's interesting about Justin, though, that makes me look at this matchup a little different, like I'm not 100% sure how he's going to approach it, is in his last 3 fights, he didn't spam the low kick like he'd done before. That might be because his first 3 fights were wars in the UFC, and he says himself that he doesn't want to have wars anymore. He likes to have wars, but his brain can't handle a ton more wars. So in his last 3 fights in the UFC, were draw first-round knockouts. He starched those guys inside of the first round. You noticed he didn't spam the low kick, and he stayed patient. He pressed forward like he always does, but as soon as he forced an engagement with forward pressure, and as soon as the engagements came, he unloaded big hooks left and right, and when something would land, boom, he was starching these guys. A lot of people have led to say that because of those last 3 performances, they think Justin Gaethje might be the hardest hitter in the lightweight division. And I hear you. I hear that statement. And this is no disrespect to his last 3 opponents, but you do have to be cognizant of the fact that those 3 knockouts came against James Vick, Edson Barboza, and Donald Cerrone. All 3 of those guys have been one-shot knocked out on multiple occasions. Not saying they have glass chins, but they definitely don't have great chins. They're a bit chinny. So I'm sure he hits really hard, but the fact that he landed a good shot on those guys and it starched them does not mean that he will starch Ferguson if he touches him. It just doesn't. He might, but he will, and I think he will touch Ferguson. So yeah, finishing up on Justin. Justin's a lot of forward pressure. He loves that low kick, or he did love that low kick. He's got one of the best low kicks in the game. But his game has changed a little bit. He's still doing the forward pressure, but he's staying patient, and he's unloading with big hooks. We also know that Justin is tough, man. He's down for a war. They both are. Which brings me to Tony. Tony's striking is weird. He strikes off a beat. He has like odd angles. He does odd things. He does odd up jab uppercuts where he will come all the way to the ceiling. You'll see his head go up to the ceiling, which is weird. You don't see a lot of guys doing it, but he has a lot of success with that. He likes to overcommit on his right hand. He'll throw a big right hand and he spins, and he'll throw that big right hand, he'll spin, and he'll hit you with an elbow, or he'll throw that big right hand and he'll spin and he'll give you his back, and when you try to take his back, he'll tumble and get into like he'll tumble and he'll suck up your legs and get into leg entanglements, because he really wants to go for heel hooks. He loves Umanari rolls. He loves heel hooks, and he loves that tumble. I watched a video of another guy breaking down Tony Ferguson, and they called it the Dark Souls tumble. I've never played Dark Souls, but I know that in Dark Souls you do this dodge roll a lot, and it showed clip after clip of Tony doing that dodge roll. He'll throw the big right hand, he'll hit you with an elbow on the way, and he'll roll out. So it's weird. He's got a weird timing. He's got weird angles. He's got a weird pressure, which brings me to another aspect of Tony's game. He's got an excellent jab. It's very stiff. He brings a lot of forward pressure. He's probably one of the best pressure fighters in the game, which is fascinating to me that he's fighting Justin, who's a pressure fighter versus a pressure fighter, and I really don't think either one's going to take a backward step. But yeah, Tony is one of the best pressure fighters in the game. Not only does he throw a lot, he throws a lot of shots with odd timings, but he if he's not throwing on you, he still is pressuring you with a lot of shoulder dips and a lot of odd footwork to always make you think he's going to attack, which is very tiring for your opponent. It's very tired to constantly think this guy's going to attack you. So who would I give the edge on the striking to? I think easy. I think Tony's hittable in the first round, and I think that that's first, second round. I think Justin might find success there. Could be wrong about that, but I think over the long game, Tony has more tools. He does a lot weirder things. I think he might even be a slightly better pressure fighter, with a big asterisk on that, because Justin Gaethje loves wars of attrition. He loves a good dog fight. I can't wait to see this fight. But I'm going to give Tony the edge in the striking just because I think Tony's chin is good enough that he could take the shots and drag it into the deep waters. And even Justin Gaethje said in the interview, Tony Ferguson can take you to some deep, dark places in there, and you have to be ready for that. And don't think I could say it better myself. Tony Ferguson will take you to a dark place in there. One more thing I have to say about the striking fight, which I do give Tony the edge. But one thing I have to say about that is another reason I don't think that Justin is going to throw a lot of low kicks in that fight is because Tony, for one, is famous for kicking steel poles. The guy does not feel pain. But there's a lot of fighters have stories of Tony doing these shin-to-shin kicks. Tony can take inhumans amount of punishment to his legs, and I don't think that Justin is going to waste too much energy with those low kicks. I do think Justin will look for a bomb. Could be wrong about that, because he might throw low kicks just to open up his hands. But I think ultimately he's looking to land his hands. But I do give Tony the edge on the striking. In the grappling department, this is super easy. Justin is a far superior wrestler. I hear, he was a Division I champion. I hear he was one of the best wrestlers ever to come out of Nebraska, I think, which is a state with good wrestlers. And from what I hear, Chael Sonnen says that Justin Gaethje probably could have went to the Olympics. He could have went to the world team. I mean, he was a fantastic wrestler. Doesn't use it in MMA, but I don't think there's any way Tony's going to take down Justin Gaethje. Tony, like I said earlier, does do Imanari rolls. He'll give his back up and he'll get into these and he'll drop down and get into leg entanglements. So with that kind of setup where he just forces a leg entanglement, he may get this to the ground and turn this into a grappling match. And in that case, I think Tony Ferguson's jiu-jitsu is off the charts. It is off the charts. I think the only person in lightweight who's got better jiu-jitsu than Tony Ferguson, and it's arguably, is Charles Oliveira. But he's got amazing jiu-jitsu, and I don't think Tony Ferguson wants any part of a grappling match with Tony Ferguson. So if Tony does get that down, I think Justin will get right back up, and I actually think he will be able to get right back up. So I don't think we're going to see much to any grappling going on. Oh, God. Sorry, I told you I was winging this. One more thing I wanted to say about that striking, something that Tony does better than Justin, is Tony is a really good hand fighter. Nate Diaz, John Jones, and even Conor McGregor, he does it really well with his lead hand, does the thing where they will reach out and they'll paw and they'll control your wrist and hit you with an elbow. They'll just sneak in these elbows attacks. He's an excellent hand fighter. You see hand fighting a lot in Muay Thai when you're doing Muay Thai clinches, and and for wrestling, it's usually you're hand fighting for control. But in MMA, a lot of people, Jones, Diaz, Tony Ferguson, have learned to hand fight as an offensive striking method, and Tony's one of the best at it. So that's another thing I think that Tony has on Justin in the striking department, is that hand fighting and sneaking in elbows. So yet again, I give Tony the striking advantage. I give Tony the grappling advantage, but I don't think that he's going to be able to utilize it. I think that Justin's wrestling is too good. And then last but not least, we're going to go to intangibles. And funny enough, that's another thing I think is so funny about this fight, is that as far as intangibles are concerned, if it wasn't Tony Ferguson in there, if it was Justin Gaethje versus anybody else, I would say that, Justin brings a lot of pressure. Justin has so much dog in him. He is so down for a war. Justin's got great cardio. He can give you 5 really tough rounds. But funny enough, all of those things, I'd say Tony's a little bit better at all those things. He's got better cardio. He's got more dog. He brings more pressure to the game. He's more of a psychopath. So that being said, my prediction, you can probably tell, I think Tony Ferguson's going to win this fight. Justin can, because Tony is hittable, and maybe Justin does have the power to just starch Tony with a shot, which is possible, because I think Justin will land shots in the first round or two. Probably throughout the fight, but I think he'll land some hard shots, and we'll see if he can knock out Tony. If he can, he'll win that fight. But if he can't, I don't think there's any chance. I think Tony Ferguson wins this fight. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. All right, guys, thank you for watching today. Happy to be back.